Hello, how are you?
I am doing very well.
All right. Glenville, just for the viewers, I know a little bit about you, but could you just tell them who you are, what you do?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So my name is Glenville Dixon. Currently, I work as a digital consultant, and my consultancy focuses mostly on consumer goods companies, manufacturing companies. I focus on education institutions, film and TV, as well as now I'm working into getting into the solar industry.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I've been
So,
working in marketing and sales for the past 5 years, and some of my secondary accolades is I currently hold 18 Film Festival awards for three movies that I've done in 2003.
wow. Like, how do you
So,
start? Yeah.
how did I start?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I don't have a degree. I don't have a degree in marketing or business development or anything of that nature. I started this kind of work when I was 15 years old. I was doing very simple copywriting and graphic design for various companies on Fiverr and Upwork, to get some extra cash, support the fam, things of that nature. And then as I grew older, I got involved in more leadership positions. I got internships for trademarking and copywriting and doing some like marketing services administration, hospitality positions. I, at the end of, well, no, my last year of high school, I was at a company called Ufology, which is a radio show. I started as a guest and I became one of the top hosts and also the technician behind the scenes. And I partnered up with my co-founder, Yabani Danvers, who was the technician at the time, in order to basically start a company. This company at the time was called TZF, Technologically Zealous Family, and it was meant to be much bigger than what it turned into, which was basically a marketing company. That's why I basically started. I did 25 courses on EDX, Harvard, Google, and HubSpot to understand how to do the finances, business development, marketing, graphic design, Google AdSense, and the whole dynamic world and range of business. I did through specialized professional courses and free courses offered online. And then I basically implemented all of these things into my own company and in helping other companies and continue to refine and improve my skill set up to where I am now.
Oh, wow. What was it like?
It was fun. It was fun. It was frustrating. It was annoying. It was exciting. All of the emotions that you could put together, except there was no regret, right? It's a very high risk business that I decided to go into. The reason I was comfortable enough to do it was because I had a tendency to just strategize things in a way that they work out. I'm able to build good outcomes. And I do a lot of research. I don't half-ass on research and learning and being properly educated, right? So I put a lot of effort into it. Like I read two business textbooks, Oxford business textbook and an Oxford law book. I still have the law books here in 6 months, to prepare myself before even starting my first company, my first agency, right? And doing that outreach and so on and so forth. Learned how to do sales techniques. I even did this weird thing where at the time um multi-level marketing companies were like very prevalent and they were like intruding in the social media space. So what I did was I took 15 meetings with the top sellers in the multi-level marketing industry and I had a book and I wrote down all of the sales tactics that they used, how they did it, how they would obfuscate language, how they would inspire you, how they put you together. And I used it to build a speech pattern, a marketing pattern as to how do you convince people to support you and be on your side, right? By using actual real life recordings of people trying to sell you on to bring you onto their multi-level marketing course. So I did real level data collection along with the theoretical. And then I implemented that with clients and I was able to land those clients up to this day. But I have a 92% close rate for clients that are interested in marketing services. As long as
Oh,
I'm the
wow.
one that's having a meet with them, by the end of the conversation, they're usually ready to cut a check.
Wow. For the viewers at home, Glenville, he runs an agency called Silver Tree Agency. So with that, how
So
long? So when did you start that
I
agency?
started Silvertree Agency in 2022. This was
Oh wow.
after TZF. TZF is actually my largest company that had 8 employees, and I was managing somewhere around 10, 11 clients at the time, including some big names in Europe. And that went down due to an unfortunate reason. And I started a smaller agency called Silvertree, tried to rebrand and choose another image, and worked with a much smaller team, like 3, 4 people, to do marketing and sales and things of that nature. And yeah, I had it since 2022 up until now. Now, Silvertree Agency doesn't necessarily exist anymore, as I've gone full bore into consulting, because that's the combination of what I've gone through in life, how I've helped clients, where I provided the most value for clients has actually been in consultation, strategy building, outcome building, and team management and development. What I used Silvertree for was to put a corporate face onto building different sales and marketing teams that I would then implement into organizations to achieve certain outcomes.
Okay, so for anyone
And
at home
Safka.
listening that did want to start something like this, how would they start? How would they build out a team? Because it seems like a really hard thing to do from an outside point of view.
Oh, it is kind of a hard thing to do. I just had a conversation 2 days ago with a client. He was looking for sales agents for his software as a service company. And I was offering free consultations at the time. So I took him on. We did a free consultation. And after some discussion, I realized that his product, he had a target market, he had a product, but he didn't have good product messaging for what he was offering. And the product itself wasn't feature rich, right? It wasn't feature rich enough. So what I explained to him was that's not the priority. The first thing you need is a strategy. You need a strategy that outlines the exact outcomes that you want. You need to be able to execute that strategy yourself and then use that to build and train a sales team who can then scale that beyond you. So all you need to build a sales team, let's say a commission-based sales team, is you need to have reputation, you need to have data, and you need trust. And the best way to do trust is to show where you're based, who are you, give proper details about your company and what you do, show your actual face, be properly involved and invested. Because if the sales agents do not trust you or they do not trust your product, they will not be able to sell your product effectively to customers, right? Even for companies that have kind of scammy products that they sell and they have their sales team, the salesman may not want to buy that product themselves, may not believe in the product themselves. However, the data of what has worked with the company beforehand to get those sales is something that's proven, right? Is something that's working currently. So as a salesman, when you come into a position, you see 10 other salesmen who are making good change, selling something that you would probably never buy. What you're gonna say is, oh, this looks like good commission. I'm gonna work here, right? Try doing that when you have no product, no service, no personality, and no understanding as to the whole sales process and how that's going to work. You're going to have a really hard time getting proper salespeople. You're going to trickle in people that are really bad at sales, and then they're going to try, they're going to fail, and then they're going to ghost you and just leave because there are no strings attached in the first place, right?
Of course.
That's what I've seen. I've built 2 sales teams so far, one for an educational institution and another for a industry niched company that I can't name due to non-disclosure agreements. But yeah, it pretty much just comes down to that. What I did was I always did a bespoke training for all sales agents. I trickle fed them information and sales. We had a whole bespoke platform to set up everything and make it come together, even remotely. Both of these teams, I built them remotely, and I built multiple marketing teams as well, all remote. The key is confidence, confidence in data. If you have those two things, then you can build a team, the confidence and data, right? Managing that team and managing its performance over time is a completely separate skill set altogether, just to make that known.
I see. Okay, okay. So with TZF, how did that start? And then what issues did you have like in the beginning? And like how did it end? Because you did mention that it ended and now you kind of pivoted to another agency.
So it started because my co-founder, Bandy Danvers, he wanted to do a podcast. We were on the largest radio show in my country, and me and the group of friends that we had around that were doing the show, we were the best at it because it was kind of a rotation thing. So there's always someone on panel every week, and we were the best. So he wanted to create a podcast. He told me that 10 times in a row, and I decided, okay, let's make a podcast. I went, I did the research, I figured out what it took to do a podcast and put all that together, how to make revenue from it, what are the sensibilities, things of that nature, so on and so forth. And I decided we don't have the revenue to do podcasts for the next half a year to a year and build in all the content to get some sponsors. So we're gonna have to do some form of job to make the revenue so we can support the podcast making. So we decided on an agency. I decided on an agency and he wanted to partner with me. So we did an agency. That's literally how it started. How
Oh
it
wow.
ended, however, I didn't know human resources. So we had a team of 7 or 8 people, and I hired. I've always been tired of doing cold outreach. Cold outreach is kind of like not my thing, but I do it because that's how you make money as a part of the process. And I was very good at closing. Interested clients, I was very good at make putting them at ease, closing the deal, closing clients, and then managing them and having conversation with them and maintaining the clientele, right? I'm very good at that and building our strategies on a high level consultation rate. I've always been like that. What I didn't want to do was cold outreach. So I hired someone to do cold outreach. He came on and he wanted to be a salesperson, he wanted to be a closer. However, due to his accent and his lack of training in it, he was very bad at it, bad at, creating that confidence, that whole thing, so on and so forth. So my goal was to train him while he did cold outreach via text and email and forms and responses, so he could eventually take the spot of closing deals, which I had no problem with. What ended up happening was he used the brand in order to get clientele, and he tried to close them himself, which he failed at because he's bad at closing deals. So he's using our website, he's using our social media, our content and stuff like that to get clients interested, and he tried to close them himself in his own meetings. I caught this because those meetings were scheduled on the email server that I have access to. And actually, that's how we closed our biggest client, funnily enough. Right? So he reached out to a large renewable energy company, which I won't give any names for legal reasons, and he failed. He like shit the bed with them, right? So I go into his email inbox and I saw that the marketing manager had given a very bad email, like, oh, this was not a very productive meeting, so on and so forth. So I sent a meeting from my email and said, I'm so sorry about my employee. This is not how we usually supposed to do things. Let's jump into a free consultation meeting. I would love to clear up any misunderstandings and see how you can move forward.
Of course.
The
Wow.
next day, we had a contract signed. And I maybe was a little bit too harsh on him because I told him that it didn't make any sense for you to do what you did because I probably could have closed all those clients myself if you let me jump into those meetings. What you did was cost all of us potential money and revenue and hurt our reputation, right? And I think a main reason as to why he did what he did or why he felt the way he did is because he was 25, 26, and I was like 19 at the time. I was very young, relatively speaking. And, I guess he just really didn't like that. So 2 weeks later, he ghosted me and everyone in the company. And shortly after that, all of our clientele declined working with us further, right? All of our clientele. And even even the new company that registered and landed because he failed with the meeting. So that basically crashed our entire company, right? I had 8 employees that I needed to pay for. I had to sue a couple companies, including that renewable energy company, to recoup the funding required to pay severance to the employees. And I basically had to shut down the company because TZF's reputation was just worth basically zero at that point, right? And that's why I got started with Silver Tree Agency after that. Why? So around that time is when I met the director that led to the creation of Override and the other two movies that I got all the film festival awards from. And 6 months after, we wanted to build some testimonials. This is what the trailers looked like at first, and they were awful. I could send you some links. They looked awful compared to what we actually put together at the end, right? So I was gonna build some testimonials to see if we could do more production work in the future. And he had to go into his old email, the original email that we emailed on to get that client. And the message was from that same salesperson that basically said, "We are Silver Tree Agency and we no longer want to work with your company or services, right? Please do not contact us anytime after this. We close all business communications." So he got hired for a job that he tried to become a closer, which he wasn't trained for. He attempted to be a closer anyways, behind my back. He failed at it, and then out of pettiness, he left the company and he destroyed my brand's reputation. His last way of going out.
And how much was that agency making before it ended?
Ah, if we exclude the renewable energy company, maybe somewhere around 8K.
So 8,000 a month.
Yeah.
Wow. So 8,000 gone down the drain.
Yep. At that time it was 8,000. A little bit before that, it was 12,000 because we do small projects, small campaign-based projects to get results. And then we also have our long-term customers, right? So in that month, we had finished all those projects just in time to take on the renewable energy company. But our long-standing clients that we did long-term work with, that was about 8,000 per month.
Okay. So with Silver Tree Agency, is that still running or no?
Um, it has a presence still, but no, technically it isn't still running.
Okay. So what are you currently doing?
Yeah, so currently I am a consultant. I work as a digital consultant. I integrate myself into founders and CEOs and companies in order to identify the misalignment in business outcomes and fix them, primarily on the back end of sales, marketing, product messaging, branding, things of that nature, just refining the entire process, making it work better, and also doing educated management of said sales and marketing teams. Oh yeah, I also said I have development experience as well. So I've also been involved in some team management and studio management for software development companies.
Oh, okay. So is this one type of business or is this like two?
Oh no, it's all the same. It's all basically the same. So it's consultation and management, basically.
I see. Okay. And how did you pivot?
The pivot is a last minute thing that occurred. I've only started going under the brand of a consultant and a digital strategist in the last 2 weeks, actually. But before that, I worked as an independent marketer and strategist for companies on, you have a problem, you want to build a sales team, you want to get here, you want to get there, you want these outcomes. I'll work with you for a set period of time, solve your issue, and then I'll move on to the next company instead of direct marketing outreach kind of thing. I was doing more of the management side. I've been doing that for last year. I've worked with 7 companies in this year doing that before I recently pivoted into full consultation.
And why did you pivot to full consultation?
Because, to be honest, my branding for what I meant when I wanted to be integrated as a marketing strategist was really shit. It was awful. because I was coming from a marketing background. I've done tons of courses for business development, strategy, things of that nature, outcomes, all of that from the very beginning, and I continued up till now. Now I have 72 course certificates under my belt compared to the 25 when I started, right? Just continuing to retrain and reskill and enhance as I'm working with these different business models, figuring out what works, what doesn't work, so on and so forth. The problem was the branding I used when getting into these organizations. I pitched myself as a marketer, right? Or web designer, or this and that, and so on and so forth. And then as I got integrated into the company, I realized, wait, there's fundamental things wrong with strategy here. There's fundamental things wrong with the team building here. There's fundamental things wrong with this and this and that. So then I offered those services, right? And I'm not afraid to say that 80% of the value I provided to all those companies was purely in the realm of strategy and management, right? Not the actual building of the email campaigns and the digital campaigns being sent out to potential clients. Like just recently, a Mandarin business company, I assisted them in building and executing a strategy that scaled them from one primary school to 30 in 3 months, right? Over 1,000 kids and parents and students. And then when they had the problem of there are too many parents to onboard, I built a bespoke sales team to do all of the outreach and bring on the clients and sign them up and all that kind of stuff. And then worked out how to leverage the partnered schools to get into the government to get more support and more assistance, right? So I have to build all of that. We didn't really do traditional marketing. So I don't think any ads were spent on the business actually. We spoke directly to the teachers, got them to do a presentation in the class. They showed their certificates and where they came from in the business and everything of that nature. So it wasn't like someone just popped in out of nowhere, right? But they did the presentation on behalf of the Embassy of China. So they had their yes to go ahead, do those presentations for all 30 of the schools. The students convinced the parents, the students and parents convinced the board, and then the board gave official correspondence to all of the parents to then get parents to purchase and buy the Mandarin courses. And then we leveraged all of that, to get into the government and then push it forward. That didn't require any marketing dollars, really. Just required people with enough time to have the conversations required to get the correct results. And I believe that non-traditional marketing may be the best type of marketing depending on your business. So my transition, all of these experiences told me that branding myself as a marketer, which most people think digital marketer, so social media management, building a website, is a disservice to the actual value I can provide to clientele. It is a massive disservice. And I get paid based on the idea of a marketing strategist and not based on the idea of a business or digital strategist, right? Which, to be fair, if I got paid properly for the strategy consulting that led to the growth from one school to 30 schools in a way that that was outlined and the savings and cost savings that happened, I probably would have been paid $30,000 for that entire thing, right? But instead, I was only paid the cost of developing a website and some standard consultation cost after the fact, which was a much lower rate considerably, right?
Wow.
Also, another thing that happened is I partially joined in helping at that low figure because I wanted equity in the business because I knew it could scale. I knew I could help it scale much further than what I had planned for it in the first stage. There were supposed to be 5 stages. And by the end of that 3 months, we got everything, pulled everything together. I built the sales team, had the whole thing pulled together. There are problems, yes, but I was able to fix those problems and move through. That's kind of the job of any entrepreneur, freelancer. And I asked for equity, and they said I needed to work longer and put in more effort and more time into the company in order to get equity. And I was like, nah, ain't no way. I'm doing something wrong with how I'm branding myself, apparently. Ain't no way. So yeah, I just don't want to be in positions like that again. And I've done enough work across the last 7 years of my career to put myself out as a consultant, someone that focuses on high level strategies. And so far, it's worked out pretty well.
Wow. Oh my. And with this new consulting pivot, how much are you making currently?
Oh, so currently, well, I'm not making anything from the consulting right now. I do have two contract jobs that I'm doing currently. What I've been offering is free consultations that would then lead into paid consultations and management, right? Which I've gone through 8 so far in the last week, and a few of them are looking very promising so far, right? But no revenue so far. But revenue is still coming in, and gets a lot of opportunities and being flown out to London within the next couple of weeks. And the manufacturing company has reached out to be a strategist, which hasn't started yet, but to be a strategist for manufacturing medical pharmaceuticals.
It's all good. And if you do close there, what's the revenue going to look like for you?
Hmm. For one of those positions, it's probably gonna start at like a 5K.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
5K. And then moving forward, it's probably gonna be around 5 to 8K moving forward. Yeah.
Wow. So with one client already up to the level of your previous agency. Wow. What's keeping you up at night? Like, is there any issues within the business that are keeping you up?
Currently, no. So my biggest issue for the last 3, 4 years of my career since TZF fell was I had self-esteem issues in regards to its failure. I blame myself for its failure for the first 6 months of the company before I realized that it was someone else that did it. And then I hired that someone that did it. So I was very much under the impression that I wasn't cut out for this agency stuff. And that's pretty much the number one thing that held me back. I didn't want to do it again. The reason I did the Silver Tree agency at such a low level for as long as I did is because I personally didn't have that faith in myself, right? I believe that the larger I would scale Silvertree, or the bigger clients, or the more deals I would create, all that means is I'll just fall harder, right? And I'll be locked out of more opportunities, more potential, more this, more that, and I'd lock myself into a future that I didn't want in the first place, right? So I kept things very low stakes on purpose, even though opportunities were presented to me to make a lot more money. I didn't think I deserved it. I thought that if I tried to go for that and achieve that, something would happen and everything would fall apart. Because that's what happened in DZF, out of nowhere, technically. And I had to realize that, you know, even though I've been holding myself back these last couple of years, I've actually done some awesome things. I have 18 film festival awards. I did the full post-production, creative work. I put all of my time into Override after my company fell, right? I was working maybe what, 90 hours a week, something like that on Override. I must have re-edited that movie must have 90 times, right? Did tens of hours of research into how to be an editor, how to do production, how to build a scene, all kinds of stuff. I put all of my energy into it because I had nothing left. And after that was finished, I didn't have anything else. I didn't want to do an agency. I really didn't want to do an agency. At first, I wanted to just be in, I just wanted to go and become a regular salaried worker, right? For the first couple of months. So I went and worked at a couple of places and so on and so forth. But I was overqualified for some reason at 19 years old. And I simplified my resume much more. So it seemed like I was just a regular 19-year-old that you could hire. And I started working for this company. And the training, which is supposed to take like 3 months or so, I was able to do it in 3 days because they gave us a wiki of how everything works. And I just read the entire wiki in a couple of hours. So when they noticed this, how much I knew about the software, how everything worked, so on and so forth, yada, 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 I was fired because they were concerned about me being a spy for their competitors. Because there's no way that you just come into the industry and you just learn all these things so quickly, so on, so on, so forth. And after that destroyed my interest I had in working a traditional entry-level job again, I was like, okay, I mean, I don't really have another option. I got to do what I'm good at. And what I'm good at is marketing, agency work, and strategy. So I'm just going to keep doing that, you know? I just made sure to not self-sabotage, that it wasn't able to properly scale to where it needed to be and things of that nature. I took a lot of time off to just get myself where I needed to be mentally and stuff like that. And it's thankfully because of the clients that I was with and the engagement and the conversation, it really livened me up and allowed me to do my best work. Another issue I had was I am a verbal processor. So I process thoughts more intimately and with more detail through conversation, which probably is why I've been such a good consultant and strategist, right? Other people need to leave and think to themselves to build a plan. I can build a plan like on the spot. And when I had TZF, my co-founder, we would talk morning, noon, and night about business and making things happen and this and that and that and this, which allowed us to scale up really quickly in a very short period of time. After TZF, he went to work for another agency, which I kind of forced him to go into. And I kind of went my own way. So I didn't have that kind of conversation person to back and forth with and stuff like that. I ended up joining and subsequently managing and being a head moderator at different business communities. And I'm currently at the same community that Arnold is in right now. And yeah, I've been in business communities since 2020. And I currently
Wow.
manage a server with over 2,000 members for e-commerce. So yeah, I've been in it for a while. The reason I jumped into those servers was so that I could find conversation. It's through talking to people and listening to insights and like having that in-person conversation that I've been able to process and work at my best. And that doesn't really work well with me in isolation. The solution to that was I brought on people who were very interested in hearing me speak, for lack of a better term, and having them as a support group allows me to do my work exponentially better than I have been producing work in probably the last year or so, if I'm being honest, right? Just because I didn't have that support group, I didn't have the person I could talk to and break down things with and so on and so forth, and plan and strategize in real time, which is like a necessity for me. So those were my two long-standing issues for a while, right? My various complex, performance complex, and so on and so forth, as well as my limitation on performance being on having great conversations with clients and so on and so forth. Those are my two biggest limiters. Other than that, I would say my immediate environment, which is going to change very soon. I live in the country of Antigua and Barbuda. The reason I live here is so I can provide education, support, help with businesses, and build new initiatives for the country that I've lived in and, make it a better place. However, it's very low on the opportunity spectrum and finding opportunities that could benefit me in the long term. And I've pretty much been here out of obligation to just try and work and do as much as I can for the community. I've been a teacher for the last 4 years, teaching during the summer, only during the summer, but I've taught robotics and programming and solar energy and things of that nature to kids. My kids are always the best in the school because I'm an awesome teacher. And yeah, I've just always liked doing humanitarian work and research work and stuff like that. However, no, thanks to my conversationalists and my support group, it's much better for me to find greater opportunities in places like Europe than to stay in a country where currently, for like my age and the skills that I've learned and the things I've done, I've pretty much skipped the traditional process as to how you get somewhere in skill set or knowledge. I've worked for over 80 companies in the last 7 years. I've built marketing teams, I've built businesses. I have multiple artists and story writers and board members that I've worked with. I've done sponsorships for businesses and advertising. I have 18 film festival awards from all across the world from a movie that I was executive producer on. It's kind of really hard for me to go back to starting a career with an entry level job as a, I'm 22 now. So like at my age, I'd be in an entry level position, realistically speaking, but I can't go back. I've experienced too much, I've seen too much. I provide value. I genuinely believe so. And these consultations I've been through was to confirm how much value I could actually provide to people. And it's confirmed that I can provide a ton more value. And all I needed to do was believe in myself a little bit more and put myself out there, right? So that's the path that I'm on. That's what I'm going to keep doing. That's what I'm going to keep moving towards, providing actual value to companies and businesses, because that's where I can provide the maximum impact, right?
Of course, of course. So, for anyone who did want to do some consulting and they were thinking about it, what advice would you give them on how to begin and how to get to the stage that you're at right now?
Um, I don't know if I can give you a very educated response on that matter because how I got to where I am now is very not normal. I got here from taking a lot of chances, having a lot of people take a lot of chances on me, and continuously pushing myself for a very long period of time with every single person I've worked with, even with my battle of self identity and things of that nature to get to the point I am now. I doing a lot of work for very little. Most consultants, um, let's say in the US or the States, they go through college, they get their bachelor's degree in finance or business administration. They work maybe at one or two small little startups doing some low level work. And then they get hired by one of the major consulting companies as an analyst. And, they go through the ranks after three ranks to reach mid level and so on and so forth. That's the traditional advancement for your average consultant for the larger firms. I am on the path of being an independent consultant and then later on using the resources I've gained and connections I've gained from those consultancy jobs and relationships in order to build valuable companies that provide large scale value. That's the path I'm on right now. How do you get there? How do you get to the path of being an independent contractor or someone in this kind of industry for startups or like medium companies? Be an autodidact. Put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to jump onto a podcast. Don't be afraid to jump onto a radio show or put your own voices and opinions out there. Don't be afraid to put your face behind what it is you're making and communication. If you don't like talking to people, you're not going to do very well in this industry. I'm an introvert by nature, but I need people to process my thoughts at a high level, which is a very interesting combination. And being extroverted is also really awesome because you're able to build better relationships and connections. Consulting is all about building great relationships, instilling confidence in the people you're giving consulting work to, and making sure that the consultation you're given leads to positive outcome for the individual you're doing consultment for. Same thing for management as well. So you have to learn a lot. You have to learn business, you have to learn finance, you have to learn economics, you have to learn how the industries of these different businesses work. The secondary reason I started TZF was because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And the best way to get industry secrets and knowledge of companies is to offer them value, which is marketing. And I can learn how does solar work? How does manufacturing work? How does logistics work? How does telecommunications work? All of these clients I've worked with, by the way. So I have a very broad knowledge on the ground with actual professionals that have been in the field for decades that I can carry across to other companies and build executions. So you need to be patient. You need to be willing to learn. You need to be willing to spend a lot of time drafting documents and proposals and understanding people and businesses. I don't know if I can give a much more educated answer than that, right? Just be an autodidact, always try to learn, put yourself, take advantage of any opportunities given to you, put yourself in advantageous situations and environments, like a business community or so on and so forth. Join conventions. When I first started, I joined like 18 conventions to get to know industry leaders. And I had to maintain that connection for 6 months before I started to get jobs and recommendations from them, right? Kind of just got to keep at it. You kind of do have to love it though. If you don't love it, you probably won't get very far in the business as a business owner. You can get by as an employee for another consulting firm because you just get ordered as to exactly what you need to do and when you need to do it, and okay, you get fired. As a business owner, you have a lot more freedom, but with that freedom comes the opportunity for nothing to get done. And if you don't genuinely love what you're doing and you don't look forward to the things that provide value to people, you can't really turn that into a business, right? Especially a business centered around you as an individual. So, yeah, you make a lot of money, but don't make it about the money. That's not the way to success doing this as an independent consultant or a business owner. That's a great way to think if you're an employee.
So if you're not doing it for the money, right? What are you doing it for?
Oh, I'm definitely doing it for money. It's just that the money isn't the highest priority of why I do this particular career, right? I have motivations, I have large ambitions, I have a strong belief in my own value to provide to these companies. And I genuinely enjoy having to spend hours researching this particular niche and industry to pull together a good understanding of this particular brand or company so I can provide the most accurate advice possible and guide them and lead them in what may be best for what they're trying to do and achieve. I love that. When I was doing legal, when I was studying legal back all the way in TZF days, my operating agreement for TZF, because it's registered as an LLC, was like 40 pages long. I, to learn contract law, I took contract templates, I researched it, I did the courses on EDX and Harvard, and then I built contracts from the bottom up myself. And then I would present them to lawyers and see if this was accurate or not, why or why not. I would read through every single legal case and all of the laws for contracts and things that nature and so on and so forth. So just have an intimate understanding of how these things are built, how they could be argued, how it works inside and out. I love that process. It was awesome. I don't do it much anymore because I don't keep in touch. I didn't keep in touch with the lawyers. But if I did, I'd probably be sending stuff to them to this day. Right?
Got
Yeah,
you.
I genuinely love it. It's awesome to get a great recommendation from someone after you had an amazing conversation and provided some value to them, you know? And the money's also good, but that's what allows me to feed myself and my family and scale my life and to do better, bigger things, which I think all clients wish for me, right? This benefits them and they want me to do better because that means I can create a better scale of value for them in the longer term, right? Oh, another thing.
Sure.
In consultation and in business and in life, the quality of the relationships in your life is what makes or breaks you. The environment matters a lot because it can determine the quality of people you get to interact with. You need to choose the right people in your life in order to get to where you want to. The right people will show you and bring you across opportunities to figure out what you're really passionate about, what you care for. And they will provide the optimism and motivation that you need in the times when you have none of it for yourself. The right people is paramount. So,
And you meet those people from many networking groups, business groups, like you mentioned before.
yeah, through genuine connection, not just business groups or networking groups, you can meet these types of people anywhere. You just need to allow yourself to put yourself in the situations to meet them. Something as
Of
simple as
course.
going to a library. You might see a guy who's been trying to do a startup for the last 3 years when all their friends want to help him do it. They don't believe in him. And that's why he's been dragging his foot for so long, because deep down, he may not believe in the product himself, but he doesn't want to give up on it at the same time. You could be the reason he finishes his project. And
There
he could
we
be the
go.
reason that you don't give up on this idea that you had for however long, right? Or could solve you when you're struggling on this or struggling on that. You can meet them anywhere. You just need to open your eyes, to be honest with you.
Wow. Right. So to end things off, I've got you were mentioning about movies and how you got some awards for them. Could you go
Yes.
into a bit about that?
About override, about what exactly do you want to know?
So how did you win those awards?
We applied for the awards and we won first place for, I'm pretty sure all that we applied to, we won first place for, or runner up. We
Oh
didn't have the
wow.
funding to apply for all the film festivals in the world. So we could only afford the ones we applied to, and we got top place for the ones we applied to, except I think one or two of them.
Fair enough. Well, Glenville, I really do appreciate your time, and I hope everyone here has learned something from you. So, before we leave, do you have any final message that you want to say?
Um, my path is not the path for everyone. You can be happy as an employee. You can be happy working for a boss that you love. You can be happy earning money so you can ensure the future of your own life. You can be happy working towards goals of getting a house and financial stability and things of that nature. You can be happy having some hobbies that don't scale beyond a certain level because that's what you're comfortable with. The world is a choose your own adventure game, right? And you kind of just need to decide what you want to do, where you want to go, and do it, right? Just do it. It doesn't matter what age you are. There's no one who can stop you, really. If you really want to do something, who's going to stop you, right? Especially when that thing is in relation to employment, which is what work am I going to choose to provide value to people? Who's going to stop you from providing value to people, really? So do what you want, do what makes you happy, and keep trying to refine and improve. What a lot of people do when they start companies that are really easy, they follow a particular plan, they do it, they make a certain amount of money, and they don't know how to become clever. I don't know if clever is the correct word. Clever sounds derogatory in the context I'm using it, but they're not very clever, right? Is the way I'd use it. You start a dropshipping business, for example, and you follow this outline, but you're not able to think far ahead enough as to how can you secure your business and then grow it over time, right? There are a lot of young entrepreneurs that see the prospect of, oh yes, you can build a store with this little money. Oh, you can do this, you can do that, so on and so forth. It's so popular, it's so this and that and that and this. Let me tell you something. All the YouTubers pushing that to you, they make far more money than a million of you will ever make following them and their advice. So you're better off doing something that you actually enjoy and love and passionate about because that'll incentivize you to do the absolute best you can in whatever industry you strive to achieve in. And yeah, those are my thoughts.
There we go. There we go.